Time to talk about the running backs, and boy, has the NFL changed in this area. Pay attention to the things that are happening. Why your team doesn't have a bell cow back anymore. The bell cow back, and that's what we like to call the guy that used to get the ball all the time, he used to average 25 to 30 carries a game. That's not the world we're in today. 2010 running backs, the highest running backs were averaging 20 carries a game. Just 3 years ago, we were at 22. There's a trending down in that area. It's for two reasons. One, we're throwing the ball a lot more. And two, we're in a two-headed monster backfield situation. Nobody wants to play this game with one back anymore. Even the Rams with Steven Jackson trying to find a second back. You think about the Kansas City Chiefs. Jamal Charles is there with Thomas Jones. They're sharing the load. You go to the New York Giants, Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs right now, sharing the load. That's the place the NFL wants to be. Now, the challenges in the running back position with these kids coming out of college. They're coming out as much better receivers. Chris Johnson came out of East Carolina with 100 receptions. DeMarco Murray just came out of Oklahoma on his way to pro football with 157 receptions. Backs 10 years ago would come out with 10 receptions. They're coming out as better receivers. They're not coming out as guys that understand the power running game of the NFL. Most of them are operating in spread offenses and taking a shotgun handoff. They've got to learn a lot more in the run game. They're a little bit better in protection because even the colleges are throwing the ball. So what are we involved with the running game? Two-headed monsters. 20 carries a game is going to be the max. You're going to see this number down to 16, 17. How are they going to get the touches to the running backs? Obviously in the passing game. We're talking about the running game. We're talking about front-side running game, backside running game. We're talking about two styles of running backs in the National Football League. The power back, that's the Brandon Jacobs, Steven Jackson kind. They're going to run and they're going to drop their shoulder and take care of that unblocked player themselves. Power run front-side player. Then is the cutback runner. To me, the more successful back in the long run in the NFL. Think Emmitt Smith here. Emmitt Smith would start a run to the right. He'd see the daylight to the back. He'd cut back. Enter the zone running scheme in Alex Gibbs. Alex Gibbs didn't want a lot of cutback runners. He'd let you cut back a gap, but he wouldn't let you go all the way backside like the old great runners, Gale Sayers. So the old expression by Vince Lombardi, run to daylight, Alex Gibbs took it out of the game. Let's go to the board. I'll talk to you a little bit about front-side running, backside running, cutback runners, and power runners. Okay, when we talk about a running game and we talk about front-side running, this is the front side of our offense. This is our power side. We've got a tight end in here. We've got a big power tackle, a big power guard. This is your pass blocker. This is a front-side power run game. When we run that ball with a power running back right here, this blocker could be going this way. He could be in front. We'll talk about him in a minute. Once I'm a front-side runner, that means when I see that safety come down, Brandon Jacobs is not thinking about taking the ball back here. Brandon Jacobs has a lot of confidence in his 230-pound body, as does Steven Jackson. If you've got these guys blocked up, fellas, I'll take them on myself. I'll stay front side and be a power back. Now, if I'm a cutback runner, run the same exact football play, except this time we've got a cutback runner, Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith starts to take the ball. He sees the safety come down. Emmitt Smith is going to think cutback. He's going to think about bringing the ball all the way backside. Now, the blockers know who's in the game. I promise you the New York Giant offensive linemen know when Jacobs is in the game, stay front side. Everybody work front side. He's staying over here. If they see Bradshaw in the game, they know this guy's going to be a cutback runner. He's going to come backside. They're going to make sure that they get a gap somewhere in here for him. And if they set it up like this fullback, instead of taking the end, he might come and work in here because he knows the cutback runner is trying to get out the gate on the backside. Frontside runner, power, big backs, cutback runners, backside. Appreciate them when you're watching the game. Know who's in the game. You're a Giant fan. Bradshaw's in the game, thinking cutback run. Jacobs in the game, thinking frontside power runner. running backs as pass blockers, running backs in the pass game. Look, the NFL, the pass game has taken over the running game. Just go back and look at the Super Bowl. There were 88 shotgun plays in the game. We're looking at an offense in the NFL right now about 63, 64% pass, and that number is going to grow. The rules are in favor of the passing game. The running back has to be an integral part of this. Okay, running back is in the game. We're going to show you a 2x2 set with one running back in. Is he in the pass protection? Is he not in the pass protection? Is he a check release player? Is he a free release player? Brian Westbrook told me a very interesting story a couple years ago. He said, I took my biggest physical pounding in pass situations. Teams took advantage of my lack of size to blitz me whenever I was in a backfield set on a pass down. That was a chance to have a free blitzer come, maybe a 250-pound linebacker, and smash into him. We'll talk about technique as well. What was Brian Westbrook's challenge? Do I cut this player? Do I try to shoot low, get him on the ground? Do I pass block him? If you shoot low and try to take out his legs, you'll get away with it once in the NFL, but on the second play you do it, that linebacker is going to handle you like a big beach ball, push you right to the ground, go over you, and blow up the quarterback. You can cut once in a while. Mostly you've got to take him on. I can tell you from coaching linebackers, if I ever saw my linebacker get assigned to a check back, he was going to bull rush him. He wasn't going to fool around trying to handle this guy by trying to get his edge. Brian Westbrook's a quick athlete. They're going to try to bull rush the guy. Lots of physical things going on, but as a fan watching the game, you can tell right away if they're in check release or free release. Watch their feet. When the ball snaps, if they stand still for a half a second, they are in a check release. They're looking for someone to block. If on the snap of the ball, they're gone, free release player. That's called scat protection. Five-man protection, back out. Let's go up and talk about some of the things that the back is confronted with when he's in pass protection. Here's our running back on this side. Okay, the second we see in maybe a 3rd and 12 situation, a formation like this, and we flex the tight end a little bit, we know right now, the defense knows, we're in a potential 6-man protection. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 offensive linemen and the back. The one thing we're not sure of, is that back going to check release and make it a 6-man protection? Is he going to free release, make it a 5-man protection? When you're watching a football game and you see this situation, know this, that the running back and the center work together. Actually, they work opposite. So as soon as the running back is on this side, the defense will say, okay, here's a 3-man protection to this side, and there's a 3-man protection to that side. So what is the defense going to do? They're going to come up here, especially against a rookie running back, and they're going to try to play games with him. They're going to put themselves in a position where that running back, if this nose tackle shades over here, they're basically saying, hey, running back, you want to take the nose tackle? Now the center makes a line call adjustment. Here's what you hear coaches talk about all the time. They go, oh, the running back, the young rookie can't play yet, doesn't understand protections. A moment ago, when the nose tackle was right here, excuse me, when he was right here, they were able to do what? 3 by 3. And they like that deal. What happens when he moves to here and a late shift? The center now wants to take him, and the back has to hear the call and block opposite. I promise you, running backs, young ones, have a hard time with that. Okay, free release. What does that tell me? If I'm in a scat protection, which I talked about, 5-man protection, he's not part of the scheme. When the ball snapped, he's on a swing route, free release, as the receivers go upfield. If this outside linebacker were to blitz, he's the guy he was going to originally block. He now is the hot receiver. The quarterback knows to throw to him right away. Think about this. Well, the average fan would say, why don't we just block him? That guy could hurt the quarterback. A lot of times, every quarterback I know, starting with Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl, wanted to be in scat protection. He said, I have a better chance of handling that outside linebacker, LaMarr Woodley, by throwing the ball outside to Starks than I do by blocking him with the running back. So look for a lot of scat protection as we grow this game out in the next couple of years. Right now, people are still into the protection scheme. They're still asking him to be part of the blocking scheme. And understand this. If I see that running back and he's a 190-pound back, this is what they're going to tell this player. If he steps with his foot like he's going to stay in, blitz him right away and what? Bull rush him. Start pounding him physically. Don't let him slip out late for a screen. Try to bull rush him to the quarterback, but never, ever let him go. The running game is a disciplined part of offense. And we've talked about cutback runners and frontside runners, backside runners. But But really, since Alex Gibbs took over control of the Denver Bronco running game and gave us Terrell Davis and those powerful run games, then went on to Atlanta and continued to run the ball, a lot of teams have followed suit, and they've really tightened the reins on the running backs. And there's points of attacks, and they've got to read the defense, and there are no excuses for it. I'm going to go to the board in a minute and show you how on a typical running play, whether it's an inside zone, an outside zone, a G power, I'll show you 3 examples, why the running back has to be very disciplined. There's some flexibility, but he better cross the line of scrimmage with his shoulders square, and he better cross it where the best blocker is taking advantage of the defense. If he has the ability to do that, he plays. If he's undisciplined, he's out of the game. The linemen themselves will go right to the offensive coordinator and say, Coach, look at the picture. We blocked that play up. He didn't follow the scheme. So let's go to the board. Let's talk a little bit about some of the running plays and the discipline the running back has to have. Okay, if we're going to get ourselves in a situation here and we're going to put ourselves in to run the football, let's get that tight end back in the action here. I got him out of the play before, and the wide receiver, and we're going to call a play, and it might be 14 zone, and they're going to have a defensive player in like that. They're going to put him over the guard. When we say 14, the running back knows he's the one back. He is going to go to the 4 hole, all right? And the holes are usually numbered even to the right, 2, 4, 6, and 8, and over here, 1, 3, 5, and 7. So when I say 14, one back to the 4 hole. All right, that's where his aiming point is. The quarterback is going to bring the ball and get it to him as deep as he can, aiming for the 4 hole. But they're reading the defensive player in the 4 hole. If that player stays in the 4 hole, they're going to be able to block him the way they intended to block him, and the running back is going to follow. And so if it's a zone play, and we'll talk about zone blocking later, the guard would be on him, the tackle would be up here, he would be here. If this player continues to stay and fight into the original 4 hole, the running back is going to have the flexibility to break that ball back in here. And these players are all blocking the backside. So he can take a 4 hole play and bring it to the 2 hole, but he can't bring it all the way back in the zone scheme. That's the discipline of the play. Let's get the lineman back on the line of scrimmage. I want to talk to you about some of the other kinds of concepts. If we said 16, they're going to be aiming point into the 6 hole, and they're going to play it accordingly. So if this linebacker were to step down in the 6 hole and take away the hole, he can move it back to the 4, he can move it to the 8, but he can't go past that in Alex Gibbs' zone scheme, which about 80% of the NFL is running right now. All right, let's get ourselves to a position where we get into something called G-power. G-power is a huge part of football today. Alan Faneca, famous for it when he was a Steeler. Then he went on to Arizona, just retired. Steve Hutchinson, the left guard in football, is the guy you want to pull and get to the front side. When they call for a G-power, they're bringing everybody down, they're blocking everybody, and they're pulling this guard, and they're taking the last man on the line of scrimmage. The bad running back is the guy that doesn't understand that the G block, the pulling guard block, and the kick-out block is where we want to run right inside of. You'll see when you're watching games, the running back gets nervous, and he starts to think that something's going to happen. He bounces out, and he gets tackled for no gain. Where's the power blocker? Bringing Alan Faneca, bringing Steve Hutchinson from the opposite side in a G-power and taking the last man in line of scrimmage, that running back is instructed to stay inside of him and run there. That's called reading the scheme. The running backs have to do it every play. When you're watching at home, you can see when they're not doing it now. Watch the backside guard. Take your eye off the ball. Watch the offensive line on the snap of the ball on a 1st and 10. Anticipate a G-power, anticipate a 14 zone, and then watch the running back. You can get your eyes back to the running back and see if he's disciplined to